What I'm trying to do is defend Alex Jones and his contention. The contention I told the jury, he's an angry populist who, as Mr. Maddie has said to several witnesses, believes there's a global conspiracy to enslave people. It may not be a belief you or I share, but you can't use a CUTPA statute to silence a person for unpopular speech, and that's what they're trying to do here.
I work for how do I put this without, I'm not supposed to tell people kind of job. If I say intelligence, what do you think?
CIA?
Yep.
Oh, you work for the CIA?
I do.
That's incredible.
I'm a contracting officer.
That's amazing.
So I deal a lot with like different agencies. We're contracting with like Director of National Intelligence to do stuff. We do Navy, Army, any of them really. I just FBI. I used to work for the FBI, so they threw the FBI at me. They're like, "Here, you used to work there." Oh, I'm permanent. I'm staff. Yeah.
Good. Well, why do they call it contracting?
Because I do the contract reporting. I do all the legal contracts. I fly out to vendors and evaluate them. I love the agency.
Good for you.
I like the Bureau too. The Bureau was a lot of fun. I got to do a lot of cool stuff with the Bureau. I was the guy in the back of the truck in the van.
As long as the Bureau is able to progress far enough to be able to put pro-lifers in jail whenever they want.
Yeah.
You think that's on the agenda?
You can kind of put anyone in jail if you know what to do.
How?
You set them up. You create the situation to where they have no choice but to act on their impulse. And once they act on that impulse, some would call that entrapment. It's a fine line.
Does the Bureau practice entrapment a lot?
We get really close.
Not officially.
No. We get as close as we can. We get as close as we can to it without doing it.
So they can entrap some of these pro-lifers into doing things that they don't...
Depending, yeah. We call it a nudge.
A nudge.
A nudge. Sometimes you just gotta give them a quick little, just to see what happens, right?
And how does that happen?
You put a post out there, or you have someone fake profile, say something that triggers, that we know is going to trigger them, right? Like, we already know your history. If we're to that point, we already know everything about it. So we're like, oh, this will piss them off.
Oh.
Sometimes you light the fuse and just wait for it to follow, right?
Like a rally. Like a... Oh. So when a rally happens, that's sometimes the Bureau behind it?
Yeah, sometimes. Nothing like putting out a fake social media thing to like really get people mad. Post fake news. Sometimes it's me.
Alex Jones.
Yeah, so we were after him.
You are?
Hardcore.
Are you still after him? Why?
Because he's broke. He got found guilty and had to pay like $100 million.
So why were you after him?
We're not anymore.
Just to get the money from him?
Yeah.
Was that court case used? Was that a CIA
Sure
thing?
was.
That was an agency thing?
Well, actually it was a defamation case. So it's a civil, not government. But we were looking at all of his followers, commenting, following, like, who's that going to be this to, right? So even though it's technically not our, well, not the agency definitely, but the Bureau, for instance, yeah, that's not our purview. It's a civil matter. But since they got all this access to his stuff and it's there, what can we go find?
And did you find anything?
I can't tell you if we did.
But now that this has come out, this is a FBI agent, a CIA boss. He's a contract manager over large contract operations. That's a boss. That's like a mini section chief, saying all of this and admitting all of this like it's no big deal. He needs to be subpoenaed by Congress. I am planning to launch a lawsuit against the CIA and the FBI. We have to bring all this out.
The investigating group, Sound Investigations, caught a high-level FBI/CIA manager. He goes out and manages major contract operations, admitting to incredible January 6th revelations of FBI inside the crowd and the deliberate targeting of yours truly, Alex Jones, to silence me through lawfare. Now, we've known this for a while and had a lot of evidence, but this is absolutely the cherry on top. His big credential is he's a hardcore leftist, a social justice warrior. And that's who the Obama administration, now in its third unelected term, via its puppet Biden, has put tens of thousands of people like this man in charge. There they are talking about how the government can put anybody they want in jail, how they want to silence people that have loud voices like Alex Jones, how they work behind the scenes to help coordinate and get that done. But of course, the big takeaway is also the fact that, of course, there were 20 FBI agents inside the crowd on January 6th when the FBI directors testified that that was not the case, even though it's been confirmed that they were in the crowd. And the feds requested the Capitol Police blur the faces of these men when they released some of the January 6th footage.
It has been reported that more than 40 FBI personnel agents or contractors were in the crowd on January 6th. Is that number accurate?
I don't know if that number is accurate.
Former Capitol Police Chief Stephen Sun reportedly has asserted that the protest crowd was filled with federal agents. Are you aware of his assertion?
I am not.
Would you agree with him that it was filled with federal agents on January 6th?
I would really have to see more closely exactly what he said and get the full context to be able to evaluate it.
How many agents were actually agents or human resources were present in the Capitol complex and vicinity on January 6th?
Well, again, it's going to get confusing because it depends on when we deployed and responded to the breach that occurred.
How many were under
federal agents?
Sure. Yeah, you're talking, and you and I both know what we're talking different things here. And please don't distract here because we're focusing on those who were there in an undercover capacity on January 6th. How many were there?
Again, I'm not sure that I can give you that number as I sit here. I'm not sure there were undercover agents on scene.
I find that kind of a remarkable statement, Director. At this point, you don't know whether there were undercover federal agents, FBI agents in the crowd or in the Capitol on January 6th.
I say that because I want to be very careful. There have been a number of court filings related to some of these topics, and I want to make sure that I stick within what's in.
I understand that, but I thought I heard you say you didn't know whether there were FBI agents or informants or human sources in the Capitol or in the vicinity on January 6th. Did I misunderstand you? I thought that's what you said.
Well, I referred very specifically to undercover agents.
Yeah. And so are you acknowledging then there were undercover agents?
As I sit here right now, I do not believe there were undercover agents on scene.
Any
FBI
assets?
Agents.
Did you have any assets present that day in the crowd?
When it comes to what you're calling assets or what we would call confidential human sources, that's a place where, again, I want to be careful, much as I said in response to an earlier question. There are court filings that I think speak to this that I'm happy to make sure we get to you, assuming they're not under seal. And that can better answer the question than I can as I sit here right now.
So Congress is being lied to by the FBI. This is just par for the course. The American people are being lied to. Famously, Comey, of course, said that he was not the leaker with all the disinformation against Trump, the Russiagate, all of it. And then later it came out that he was the main leaker hundreds of times, but he said, well, I didn't technically leak it to the press. I gave it to the head journalism department dean of a major university, and then he would give it to the press. So that's like Don Corleone ordering a murder in The Godfather, or in the real world, somebody like John Gotti doing it, and then later saying, well, I just gave the order, I didn't actually do it. So here's the long and short of it. And again, I'll do a more detailed report with all the video clips, all the proof that'll be out by Friday, probably even earlier, because this is very historical, it's very important. Sandy Hook happens 11 years ago. I barely talk about it. I think it really happened at first, but there are some anomalies. A bunch of investigators, former school safety officials, professors, and others from Florida, Wisconsin, you name it, come out and say they think it didn't happen. I cover it some. It's a story that's pretty big for a couple years. Then I don't talk about it for more than 2 years at all. Trump wins the election, and the CIA and FBI want to develop a plan to try to bring down Trump. So they say, we will go over Jones's history, find a few things, take him out of context, and then demonize him in the press, saying that he's Trump's brain and that he tells Trump everything to do. So by extension, Trump is Alex Jones. So you demonize Alex Jones, you exaggerate, you twist, you lie. Thousands of news articles, hundreds and hundreds of national TV programs, thousands of local news shows for 2 years. saying that I'm sending people to Sandy Hook families' houses, that I'm peeing on graves. I'd never been to Connecticut at that time. That I'm harassing them, that I'm doing all these things I never did. Then they had Megyn Kelly do a TV program about it, interview me. They use that to sue me. But then they get all the discovery that the FBI, CIA guy is talking about and find nothing illegal. They thought they'd find something illegal and put me in jail, and they admitted that. And when they didn't, they went, oh, crap, after 3 years of discovery, we'll just have the judges that they totally control in Connecticut and Texas, because, again, they sue in the key jurisdictions, and they select key judges, just like with Trump, and all that lawfare and trying to steal the election. And so then they had the judges default me in Connecticut and Texas, so I'm already found guilty. The judge then tells the jury that I'm guilty, tells them I have hundreds of millions of dollars that wasn't true. They bring in HBO film cameras, movie cameras, do huge productions, put on all this disinformation. I'm not allowed to challenge it because I've already been found guilty. It's hearings on damages. You get $1.5 billion judgments total. Then the Democrat Party lawyers say, and by the way, the law firms running it are openly the top law firms in the Democratic Party. They say that is not enough money. We want $2.67 trillion, the GDP of India, just absolutely to scare the hell out of people and create hysteria. And so that's basically what happened. And we know that the main lawyer in Connecticut is a former federal prosecutor, sir, that set up and put the governor of Connecticut in prison. Senator Blumenthal's son works there and basically runs a lot of the operation. It's a deep state cutout, in my view. You also have this FBI agent that sued me and got $90+ million. I never said his name, never showed his photo. None of the crew ever talked about him. Didn't even know who he was until he sued me. So the FBI was a party to the suit. And now you see this individual just caught on video bragging about how they used that to get discovery, again, to try to find information against me and my crew. So that's just some of the FBI deep state connections, but now it's doubly confirmed by what this individual is now admitting to on tape. And we have major information from other sources that are now coming forward that is going to break in the next few weeks that really expose how this whole thing was run.
Even within the past couple months, is your allegation that government officials are aiding in pedophilia, child trafficking, and the grooming of children, right?
You mean like what Jeffrey Epstein did with the Clintons?